Welcome to the One Church podcast, a podcast that will encourage you in your faith, inspire you in your Christian life, and equip you to journey boldly with Jesus. We're glad you're here and we hope you enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the One Church podcast. We are doing a series on evangelism, and on today's episode we've got a member of One Church, Elliott, and we're going to be discussing about how to evangelize to family. So welcome, Elliott.
Hello.
You ended up becoming Christian yourself because you were evangelized to from your family. Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, sure. So it all started probably about 20 years ago, actually, or 16 years ago. It all started with my auntie, my mum's sister, Rebecca.
Okay.
And she was searching for something, and she started to go to church herself, and she became a Christian, as I say, probably 16 years ago. And then she began to evangelize to my mum, and that was the very beginning of it.
So you almost got like generation or like family evangelized to family, evangelizing to family going on there.
Yeah. It's like a daisy chain. Yeah, it's quite a long chain. So
who had the big So you're saying your aunt and your mum had a massive influence?
So it started with aunt, and then mum started to go to church with aunt. Found her own faith. Mum got baptized when I was about 16, probably. I remember going to that in Ashford. So that's aunt, then mum, and then they used to come home and talk to me about church, and I used to be like, not really interested. But my sister used to go with them sometimes.
So when you said they came back home and talked to you about church, what is it like? Is there any sort of specific things they would talk about?
They'd just come home and be like so annoyingly happy. Do you know what I mean? Just.
And at what point was it when they were coming home, talking to you about church? At what point did you think there might be something to this?
I would say after my mum had been like a confirmed Christian, if you like, and going to church herself, which was Living Well Church, actually, in Whitfield, she just began to change a bit for the better, you know? Like, she began to seem stronger, more happy in life, and things just began to take a positive change.
So you'd say there was sort of like physics, like emotion, how she was emotionally, how she behaved, just...
Yeah. So her physical demeanour began to improve, and I guess, emotionally she became like more, stronger. Like she won't mind me saying, she used to like suffer really badly with depression, and she began to, those chains were really broken, and I saw that as a kid.
So what was it that made you come to church then?
Well, they kept inviting me, didn't they?
How many times do you reckon?
I don't know. Every Sunday after church, they'd invite me. Do you want to come next week? And I'd say nah.
And then you did?
Yeah, probably after 15 times. I said yeah.
Why?
Well, I sort of knew that they'd been praying for me. And so one day we had this like sort of bit of an argument at home, and I said to my mum and my aunt, who was round at the time, I said, it's all your fault. You've told me all this stuff now about God and church, and now I'm thinking about God and the devil, and I wish you'd never told me. And that was the end of that argument. And I don't know. I don't know when the exact shift happened, but I decided to go, and I just saw a building full of people that were like worshipping God, and I'd never seen that before.
And how long were you in church before it became more personal for you?
Probably, it was personal fairly quickly, because I felt something in that building that I'd never felt anywhere else in my life, like a spiritual feeling, not just an emotional feeling. It was different. It wasn't like, we cry because we get emotional, but this was different.
Yeah.
And I felt that in the building. and I saw with my eyes people worshipping as well. So immediately I was interested.
Yeah. So like for me, the things that I'm picking out here is that firstly, you see emotional and personality changes in your family, and then that piques your interest to a certain extent, and then you're going into a church. Because a lot of people, I think, when they say, "Oh, just invite them to church," people are, that's not going to cause anything. But you're telling me through your own testimony that actually by just being in the building, by seeing other people worship God, that actually had a big impact on.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just turning up, seeing people worshipping the Lord, who I now call Lord, but didn't then. Just seeing that with my eyes, and just, it's really, really difficult to explain, but I just knew that something was different about these people to other people that I'd met before. Just everything, like the way that they looked in their eyes, the way they spoke to me, the way they engaged with me, not just the way they lifted their hands and sung songs of praise. Everything was different.
So what is it, or when do you think, if you could put it down to a moment or a period of time where you decided that actually, I believe God, I would class myself as a Christian now?
Yeah, so that probably happened when I was about 18, maybe 19. So I'd already been to church on and off for like maybe a year and a half. And you want to know what the pivotal moment is, do you?
Well, if you think, can you think of a pivotal moment?
Yeah, there were several. There were several moments that made me believe God is real. But the difference between believing God is real and wanting to commit my life to God was, well, that part was a choice. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I chose to see that the Lord was real. I could see the work he was doing. I could feel him with my spirit when I was in church. So I don't know, it took me several visits to church, and my mum had prayed for me several times. And then, yeah, there was sort of one quite pivotal moment, actually, yeah. So I was a pretty bad kid, you know that, pretty bad, like extremely bad. Teenager, awful to my mum. And there was this time where she called me over to speak to her, and she just said, I need to tell you that I forgive you for all the things that have happened between us. And I mean, I could already barely look at her, to be honest. I was already welling up and crying and stuff. And then she said, the thing is, that's how God is. God forgives as well. And she said, if you want to, you can ask God to forgive you, because, you know, we all know we've done things wrong. And at that moment, during that conversation, I thought, yeah, I am ready to ask for forgiveness and repent, as it were. And so I did. I prayed, you know, the prayer of salvation, if you like. And I was quite emotional, but I think spiritual emotional as well as emotional. I wasn't just upset because, like, or, you know, I'd been forgiven. It was more than that. But yeah, I prayed that prayer of repentance, and I was 18 years old.
That's amazing. Like, it's so nice to hear that your mum praying. Like, we never know how much God is doing just when we're praying. And then also that we've had another podcast where they were talking about the God, like prophetic evangelism, where God's given someone something to say to evangelize to someone. And clearly that's happened in your mum there, where she's like, no, God's telling me that I need to forgive you. And then it changed everything.
Yeah, it
Amazing.
absolutely did, yeah.
So we then move on 12 years, been in the church for 12 years, committed Christian, you're married, child on the way, and now you're seeing yourself as, in that time, you've started evangelizing to your own family. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So I evangelized to my dad, where you've pulled us forward 12 years. I'll rewind a few,
Yeah.
but evangelising to my dad, that was interesting to start with.
So how did that go about then?
He was quite hostile. Yeah, he was hostile. He just used to shout and say, "Don't talk to me about this stuff. Leave me alone." But a seed was sown.
So how long back are we talking when you started evangelising to your dad?
Probably 6 years ago.
And so what would be the like normal conversation that you would have with him?
Like, "Oh, Dad, can I show you this song we sing in church?" "No, you can't show me that song. Go away."
So it's really interesting because you're telling me like what your mum used to do to you, you're now doing to your dad.
Yeah. And then he's doing to me what I did to her, which is rejecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Like, did you just carry on?
Yeah. I probably withdrew slightly because I thought, well, if he doesn't want me to talk to him about that part of my life, then I won't. But it was fine. I just carried on. Do you know what I want to say? I think sometimes actions speak louder than words, right? So I thought, okay, I can't talk to him about my faith in the same way I would like to. I've got to shrink it back a bit verbally. So I thought, well, let's just be myself. Actions speak louder than words. So hopefully he'll see my faith through how I am and the fact that I go to church and the fact that I pray and et cetera, et cetera. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And so when did you see a turning point in your dad becoming interested?
Well, he started to read his Bible and then he'd tell my mum, even though they're not together, like they still talk sometimes, he'd tell me, he'd tell my mum, probably my sister too, "I'm reading my Bible." And I'd say, "Okay, Dad, that's really good. Are you enjoying it?" And he'd say, "Well, I'm not too sure about this bit here, and I'm not too sure about that bit there." But for me, what mattered was he was reading his Bible.
It sounds like wants to engage but he wants to be almost controversial in it. Do you think, was it like when he did talk about those things, do you think he was trying to potentially wind you up? Or do you think he was or do you think he wanted to have a conversation?
I think he genuinely wanted a conversation. He wanted to talk about what he'd read in the Bible, but he wanted it to be, this is just a guess, he wanted it to be on his terms, not my terms, which was fine.
Now let's look at more recent times, because I know a bit of your story. What is it then changed? Because I know that your dad has recently given his life to Jesus. What is it that made him get to that point? What was how did you continue to evangelize to him so that he reached that point?
Yeah, so I think a point comes on everybody's journey where God takes over from the person who's been evangelizing. And so you don't stop evangelizing, but they're now on their own journey with the Lord because the seed's been sown. They begin to believe. So how did I continue? Well, I just made sure that I was always there for Dad. Like if he wanted to talk to me about church, God, the Bible, Jesus, I was ready to talk, listen, answer questions. But yeah, the shift had happened. I've evangelized, sown the seed. Dad's beginning to find his own way in the journey. So I guess I probably backed off a little bit because I don't want to force him into anything. But yeah. So God's taken over. Dad's on his journey. I'm there to answer questions.
That's great. And what's really lovely is that obviously your dad has come to a place where he is giving his life to God. He got baptized 2 months ago, and he's fully on his own journey. He's fully committed to God, and it's incredible to watch him week by week. He regularly updates me with just where he is with God, and that's just been fantastic. So thank you for sharing that. But you obviously haven't stopped, because you're now, we had a conversation that you're now regularly messaging your cousin. Can you tell us about that?
Well, yeah. We do regularly message, but we catch up in person as well. So I sort of jokingly referred to it, I think, as pub evangelism. Not that I suggest it, but we go for a beer because we're buddies, we're close cousins. But every time we go for a beer, we talk about God.
Did you start those conversations, or was it him?
It just happens.
It's somewhere in the conversation. So it could, like, sometimes it could be you, sometimes it could be him.
It's really hard to pinpoint, but the conversation just naturally takes a turn towards church or God or the Bible.
That's no surprise to me, because I know you, Elliott. You are really passionate about your faith, so it doesn't surprise me that people see that and talk about it, and you talk about it naturally. It's just a natural part of your life. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. So how do those conversations go?
Oh, it'll make you laugh. Okay, so an easy one. I invited him to Alpha. Would you like to come to Alpha? Obviously, I'd already told him about it. He knew what it was. I just said, would you like to come? And he said no.
And what was your response to that?
I said, okay, that's fine. Think about it. I reckon you'd like it. And he said, I'm not sure I'd like it. Oh my goodness. He said, you want to brainwash me into being a Christian. And I just laughed. And we both laughed. It was funny. But no, there's I don't know, it's just, it happens. We talk about God every time. So something's going on there. But I honestly I'm not like deliberately trying to make those conversations happen. It just naturally flows. We just talk about God and the Bible.
I think that's really important, because I think it should. Like, I think if we are truly dedicated to our faith, that actually if God is at the centre, then everything we say and do should reflect around God. And clearly that happens for you, because people then start talking about it, because there's not going to be much else to talk about, because that's what you show. So.
Exactly, mate. You can't force it.
No.
You can't force it.
No, it's natural for you.
Well, I think it needs to be natural.
What's like good about this also is that we can all take confidence that if someone says no to us, that's okay, because you said no, your dad said no, your cousins now say no, and if we listen to these other podcasts, we're hearing that time and time again, people saying, I'm not interested. Actually, being turned down shouldn't stop us from continuing. Like, it shouldn't stop us. We should continue to be Christ-centered and not be disheartened when someone says no, because
100%. Mate, don't let rejection knock you back. Like, if you want to preach the gospel, like, just do it. People reject you, so what? You're not doing it for like a reward, like a pat on the back, are you? Like a good feeling. You're doing it just because it flows out of you naturally.
You know that what you've got is
what
they need.
Well, yeah. I mean, everybody needs God, don't they?
Yeah.
Everyone needs Christ, Christianity. But don't force it. Be natural and just show God's love through your actions. That's what people like. People want authenticity, don't they?
Yeah.
Not fake, forced, like do you know what I mean? Like, it's got to be real. I don't know. I don't think I'm an evangelist, but everyone says I am. So it must be God working through me.
Yeah. So for me, the most important part of this podcast is I would take away, don't let rejection stop you. Pray. Clearly, Elliott was praying for others. People were praying for Elliott. People were praying for Elliott's dad. And they've come to know God. And lastly, make sure that you act like Christ around everyone, particularly those that you want to see saved, because they will see that and they will come to know the Lord through it. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you again, Elliott, and hope you can listen again. Bye.